The top story in politics tonight is a president caught on tape, again without his knowledge, by one of his own former aides. So before we go any further, join me in considering this reality show dumpster fire of projection and irony haunting the White House, and note that it is all of Donald Trump's own making. And when it comes to secret tapes, Donald Trump seems to keep getting himself on the wrong end of them. A little context. It was Donald Trump who claimed he might have tapes of James Comey and claimed that other people may have illegally taped him at Trump Tower, Trump accusing former President Obama of that. But at this point in this presidency, tonight is a night where we notice the only tapes that have actually appeared, that have actually aired across America, that have actually embarrassed the people caught on said tapes, are the tapes made by Trump's own lawyer and fixer, Michael Cohen, and now his own reality show apprentice, Omarosa, who's gone from heralding the Trump train to making him out tonight as a public enemy.
When I say Trump train, I want you to say choo-choo. Y'all ready? Trump train! Trump train! Trump train!
Those were the days. Tonight, the story is new reports coming off of Omarosa's book rollout tour that Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner were also caught on her tapes. An exchange that does sound fairly innocuous, the couple wishing her the best and asserting they didn't know that she was being fired at the time. And also, I should note in fairness, not all these tapes are bad for the White House. Omarosa's breach of protocol to bring a recording device into the Situation Room has drawn her far more criticism than her apparent target, Chief of Staff John Kelly, who, according to government rules, was within his rights to expect a private conversation there and to negotiate her departure since he was chief of staff. There's also a new tape excerpt obtained by NBC News revealing Omarosa also had some phone access to President Trump. It features him claiming he had no idea she was being let go.
Omarosa, what's going on? I just saw in the news that you're thinking about leaving. What happened?
General Kelly came to me and said that you guys wanted me to leave.
No, nobody even told me about it. Nobody.
Wow.
You know, they run a big operation, but I didn't know it. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
God damn it. I don't love you leaving at all.
That excerpt is obviously open to interpretation. Donald Trump could be telling the truth, and he was out of the loop about her removal, which in itself may not mean much if she already had a limited role. The president's not involved in every personnel decision, even in a normal, non-reality show White House. Trump also could have been lying to get through a somewhat difficult phone call. Omarosa arguing today that Trump is prepped to lie to the American people on the daily.
So if the comms team prepped the president to lie to Lester Holt,
they prep him to lie every day.
Did you ever ask the question, why are we lying?
All the time.
And the answer was?
This is how they do it. This is the Trump administration at its best.
This is how we do it. A little Montel Jordan there. Now, Donald Trump is hitting back at his former apprentice aide by giving her a new nickname on Twitter and demeaning her with this brief exchange.
Mr. President, do you feel betrayed by Omarosa, sir?
Low life. She's a low life.
This is not another plot twist. This is not a cliffhanger. This is another step in the inexorable march of a reality show presidency that is not so much staffed as it is cast, that is not so much planned as it is scripted, and that in the end is not riven by debate, which assumes people actually holding beliefs beyond their own self-interest and self-promotion. This isn't a debate tonight. This is just more content, which is why the self-made characters look so at ease in situations that most people would find uncomfortable and undesirable. But we know this is their desire. This is what they want, as we've known about many of Trump's flamboyant aides for some time. Some of them want to use you, but some of them want to get used by you. Joining me now, we have Michael Hirschhorn, who created the very concept of celebrity reality TV at VH1 with hits like Flavor of Love, I Love the 80s, Celebrity Rehab. He is a critic of importing that style to governance. Political analyst Rich Benjamin, the author of Whytopia, and New York Times editorial board member Mara Gay. Thanks to all of you for this very important discussion. I don't know. What do you think?
I actually think you're spot on. I don't think that this is a different story. I think that this is what we call in journalism more color for the same story that's already being written about the Trump White House, which is that despite promising Americans that he was going to hire the best people, actually President Trump has shown that the people who are in the White House are people you wouldn't even necessarily want to be at your dinner table because you can't trust them, because of the lack of respect that they bring to the office and to the American people. And it was one of those days for me where I said, imagine if Barack Obama had done this. The double standard, not just for the first black president compared to President Trump, but also, quite frankly, at this point, for Republicans and the latitude that they are sometimes given.
You think America would be less patient with Barack Obama making all these hiring and firing decisions?
Oh, well, I'll leave it to the imagination, but I mean, I think when you look at the quote-unquote scandals during his administration, Barack Obama's, the wearing of a tan suit, we are so far beyond that at this point. And I think it's very clear that race is part of that, but also just this general disintegration of our politics into this reality carnival. It makes me sad.
So, Michael, because you are familiar with both this medium but also its limitations, these are times as we think about what's in the news and what's important and what the president is doing with his time, where I do struggle. I struggle to even understand what we're doing. And so I reach for the poet Method Man, who said, "Is it real, son? Tell me if it's real, son. Is it really real, son?"
I thought you were going to reference the Tekashi 6ix9ine YG beef right now, but you went deeper for me. I think it's unbearably sad and it's unbearably tragic. And my concern actually expands to the coverage that is given to this issue. You know, they are very successful, both Omarosa and the president, at controlling attention, and they're controlling attention, and Omarosa is going to keep controlling attention.
But this is negative attention for Donald Trump. I understand that point, and I'm willing to debate it with you. This is very negative attention for him on soft spot issues for him from someone who he has told Trump supporters is credible and positive previously. Right. And it's on a day when politically he has finally gotten, and we're going to get to this later in the show, but he would want, I would argue, the A block of the news shows to be about the firing of the FBI agent who is anti-Trump deep state. So does the distraction argument really apply on a day like today?
I think so. I think if we're going to stick with the beef metaphor, that this is in fact within the context also of a reality show, kind of a hip hop beef, right? And a hip hop beef, almost by definition, benefits at least one or both of the parties. And I think so in this sense, anything that provides distraction is a positive. And so this actually represents a new type of distraction that is interesting as drama, but you never know if it's real or fake. I would even posit that it's possible that these tapes actually are completely fabricated. The quality of the tape is too good. The whole thing kind of smells funky to me.
Well, and when you say that it's like a beef where both sides benefit because the conflict is what escalates and elevates them to some degree, of course, Rich, this goes to the famous saying, what's beef? Beef is when you need 2 tweets to go to sleep.
Right. And Ari, you began with that analogy that the White House is a reality show and Trump likes to conduct it like a reality show. The problem with all that metaphor is that we are not viewers, we are citizens. We deserve better, and we cannot opt out of this reality show on our terms. The world, in many cases, is going to fire, and then we're sort of saddled with all this mess. And we are distracted, as Michael has said. And so this business of, and to your point, what about Scaramucci? What about Pruitt? It's just a parade, horror show of disastrous hires. And some are in the vein of reality show, and some are just sheer incompetence. So distinguishing between incompetence and reality TV is becoming more difficult.
Well, and let me say, Michael, watch then, to your point, the idea that this is a constructed beef for their benefit as drama. Here was Donald Trump and Omarosa on their failed reality TV dating show.
Omarosa.
Mr. Trump.
My friend, you've been very good for me, and you're my pal. But you know, I'd love to have you meet some guy. Is there anybody that can tame you? I have 12 men. I want you to go out to Las Vegas, meet these guys, and you're going to decide whether or not there's somebody for you.
I hope I can find him.
First of all, note that was a binder full of men. For anyone who remembers, that's a binder full of men. But it goes to your point that these two are collaborators.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think they've been collaborators for a long time. You know, anyone who is a reality show villain is a reality show villain for life. There's really no way out of it, and this is really just a continuation of their relationship by other means.
I was just going to say that Donald Trump really only seems to have two litmus tests to work in that White House. One is to make him look extremely good, and the other is to be red meat for his base. And when those are the litmus tests that you use to hire, you don't necessarily get the best people.
I want you all to stay with me. I'm going to bring in Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist Jonathan Capehart. You were speaking to Omarosa when a lot of this was considered more of a pipe dream in 2015. Let's take a look.
You have to understand the dynamic of celebrity feuds. Honey, I made a career out of celebrity feuds. He is selling the sizzle, not the steak. And you all are getting caught up on the sizzle.
What have we learned?
A lot. That conversation happened in August 2015. It was the first Saturday after Donald Trump participated in his first debate in the Republican primary. I wanted us to bring in a Trump whisperer, someone who could try to explain him to us, because we figured he would do something in that debate that would require us to talk about it and talk about him. And that interview with Omarosa has stuck with me for 3 years, because everything she said in August 2015 turned out to be true. The thing she said was, Jonathan, reality television has taken over America. Donald Trump is the reality television king. He is now bringing that to presidential politics, and you're making a mistake if you try to view him through a presidential prism. You need to view him through this pop culture reality television prism. And I was having a hard time with that. 3 years later, I have no hard time at all. I completely see it. Everything I know about Donald Trump, learned about Donald Trump, I learned from Omarosa.
Well, and Michael, in that point, and that's Jonathan saying something you've said as well, which is what is the cultural conversation that is tapped into, and the celebrity status of Donald Trump, which was held against him not only by the Republican establishment on the right, but by the elites and what you might call some center and liberal elites, obviously did play well in part of the country. He didn't get more votes, but he came close. Take a listen to the John Kelly exchange, where it's hard to imagine that John Kelly fits into the beef feud the same way, because he seems very much against all of this. Here's the audio.
Is the president aware of this?
Let's not go down the road. This is a non-negotiable discussion. This has to do with some pretty serious integrity violations. So I'll let it go at that. So the staff and everyone on the staff works for me, not the president. And so after your departure, I'll inform him if he gets interested on where you may be.
Is that part real?
They sound like they're in bed together.
But they're not. They're allegedly in the Situation Room.
Allegedly. The problem is, I think what's happening right now is everything is becoming an allegedly. Right? Part of the deterioration that the Trump administration has created is where you don't trust anything. And I think the entire country is in a kind of state of paranoia. What if this is real? I have no idea.
Right, but I think the idea is that John Kelly, based on what we know and the fact that there are facts, she was removed from the White House. There is government payroll. She no longer draws that check. That's publicly disclosed. And she doesn't go in there every day, and John Kelly was the one who removed her. So there are some facts that are out of this, even amidst the drama, and that goes to this is what John Kelly, the chief of staff, is spending his time on.
Right, but what's the accountability for that? I mean, if all of these conventions are so slippery, this truth is so slippery, he's actively creating an atmosphere of paranoia, then what's the accountability and the tangibility of these facts? And so there are facts, but then he gets to sort of determine, oh, she's this, she's that, and he gets to sort of determine the parameters of the fact if it were not for journalists keeping him accountable.
And so, Jonathan, do you view this as something in Washington that plays out for a few more days and a few more tapes, or has any other long-term significance for this president?
Well, I think we are now in Omarosa's hands. She initially said, "I've got tapes." The initial reaction in Washington was, "Oh, sure you do." Then on Meet the Press yesterday, she drops a tape that you just played, and we hear that it's not only the chief of staff, but it's in the Situation Room. She upped the ante this morning on the Today Show with a tape of a conversation that she had with President Trump, saying that she had just been fired. Now there's reports that she's got recordings of Jared and Ivanka. She could keep this going. Omarosa could keep this going for however long she had and however many tapes she has. I think it then requires us in the press to determine whether we've had enough.
Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.